Hello, this is the Fifth Star Podcast. I'm Jamie.
And I'm Albert.
And this is a podcast where we're trying to find our next 5-star rated movie. And when we find that movie, this podcast will die, but then potentially could be resurrected with enough electricity. Maybe, potentially. We shall see.
So on this episode, we are reviewing Frankenstein, the new kind of reimagining of it, I guess, by Guillermo Del Toro.
Mm-hmm.
So Del Toro apparently has been wanting to make this for 20 years. Yeah.
I mean, it is totally in his category.
Yeah. I mean, I consider him kind of like the master of monsters in a way.
Yeah.
All his movies have like monsters.
Grim fairy tale.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so he's said in interviews like this one had, the story of Frankenstein has been one of his like lifelong most impactful stories in his life. And then he has another one. Do you know what the other one would be?
Jekyll and Hyde.
No.
I always.
That's a good guess,
those.
though.
I always.
It's a really bizarre choice.
Okay, I probably won't guess it.
But think of a recent movie he's made.
Pinocchio?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the one?
Isn't that weird?
I thought this was one that he wants to make in the future.
No,
okay,
so
Pinocchio.
his two like favorite stories of all time, or most kind of
Wow.
impactful stories, the
Yeah.
stories that made the biggest impression in his life, he's made now. And this is him
Wow.
kind of completing his like bucket
Wow.
list movie.
Well, now what? I'm just kidding.
Yeah. But I mean, that is a big question because
Yeah.
it's like, where does he take
What's
his career
next?
from here? Now, have you seen the original, the 1931?
No, there are so many versions of this movie, though.
Yeah.
There are like hundreds of versions
Yeah.
of this.
Now, the 1931, but apparently, so that's the most famous one with
Okay.
Boris Karloff, the typical like bolts and all that. But the first adaptation was apparently like 1910. It was like a short
Wow.
film, the first like film adaptation. But do you know when the book was written?
The 1800s?
Yeah. What would you guess? 18 what? Mary Shelley's Frankenstein or the modern Prometheus?
Well, the movie took place in like 1855-ish, so maybe around that time.
So 1818.
Oh, so it's in the future. She wrote it in the for the future?
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if in the book if it references like 1850
okay,
something.
maybe they just changed it for the movie.
But yeah, maybe she did. But 1818, which is a lot older than I thought
Wow.
initially.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Have you read the book?
I started it, and
Oh, wow.
I never finished it. Same with Jekyll and Hyde, actually. Started it,
Interesting.
never finished it.
Why?
I
Was
don't
it just
know.
like
I
creepy or?
Well, I was in high school, and I think I found the writing to be a bit slow or something, like too slow paced for me. And I think if I read it now, I would appreciate it more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I am kind of curious. I after watching this, I did look into like how much of this was based on the book. So we'll talk about that during this episode.
Didn't she write this under like a pseudonym or something?
So from what I've read, she released the first version anonymously. And I'm guessing
Okay.
it's because she was a female.
She was a woman. And,
Yeah.
and well, what's crazy is like the movie is very much about, I mean, both main characters are male. And so
Yeah.
it's interesting that it was written
Mhm.
by a woman.
Yeah. And, so she did a revision,
Mhm.
and in that she put her name on it. But I think by
Ah.
then, like there had
People
been,
knew.
yeah, like there was more. It was more of a popular story,
Wow.
I guess.
Yeah.
But it's just crazy. Like the story is so timeless. Yeah. So on this episode, we'll get into Del Toro's version
Mhm.
of this Frankenstein, and we've secretly wrote down what we rated this movie.
Yes.
What do you think I gave it, Jamie?
I think you gave it 3.5.
Okay, 3.5. That is what I thought you would have given it also.
Okay.
So if this is your first time watching our podcast, then we will first talk spoiler free and then we'll reveal our scores.
Yes.
So what did you think of Del Toro's Frankenstein?
First of all, I thought it was really interesting how they began the story.
Mhm.
Kind of through the lens. Honestly, it's similar to the way Titanic starts.
Oh,
Where
that's
it's like,
interesting.
let me tell you a story.
Yeah,
To a
that's right.
completely unrelated audience. And I thought that really set the stakes and set the tone for the rest of the movie in a really
Mhm.
interesting way. And then I liked that it was the narrative was kind of split into parts.
Mm-hmm.
I will say though, I was kind of annoyed by some of the CGI stuff,
Yeah, you got
particularly
some
the CGI,
animals.
the animals.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of like, why do we need a CGI rat? Like that's just to me not necessary
Mm.
unless you can think of a poetic reason for it.
I mean, maybe it's like if you're gonna have some,
Mm-hmm.
you kind of want a consistent look. But like
Yeah.
for example, there's like CGI wolves in this.
Right.
But in the behind the scenes making of, like they actually shot some shots with real wolves too, apparently.
What?
Yeah,
That's
and
crazy.
kind of like intercut the two together.
Interesting.
Now, I could tell when it looked really CGI,
Right.
but I never really was like, "Oh, that's a real wolf," you know?
Right.
So maybe they were just like quick shots, or I don't know.
Interesting. I'll also say, because I totally thought some of the sets were green screen sets.
Hmm.
And then I found out they were real.
Yeah, they built so much of it, like all practically. Yeah,
But it was
like that
weird. Why
that-
did it look like a green screen though? Like the way it was lit or something, it made it look very flat to me.
Interesting.
Like two-dimensional, and I was convinced that it was a green screen.
So, you have your classic, like outside the windows is green screen or blue
Right,
screen. And
right.
then, in like the ship, like everything in the background, that's all CG'd in.
Right.
But everything in the space is very much real. Like they built the whole boat and had it on a gimbal that can move
That's crazy.
and tilt.
That
So
looked real. The ship looked real.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it apparently it took like 6 months or something, maybe even longer, like a really long time.
Interesting.
They couldn't do it on a soundstage because it was too big, so they just built it on the parking lot and just like left it there. They even built the captain's quarters inside the ship, which is
That's
crazy. It's like, why
awesome.
did they do that? But the
That's
lab is
awesome.
all on a soundstage. Like,
Yeah, the
that's a
lab
full
I thought
thing.
was the green screen part.
Really,
Yeah.
but it looked okay. I mean, I could see what you're
I
saying.
don't know. The way it was lit looked fake to me. Like I think it was all the orange and blue light and everything.
Yeah.
It looked very like this is what you'd see in a Marvel movie or something. But I think there is something to be said about the way that movies look nowadays. They look too polished.
Okay.
And it makes it feel fake, which
Yeah.
is kind of sad.
So I think I understand what you're saying. There was this kind of veneer of like this polished look to it, and it being a period piece, I think might be part of the reason why. Like he went for a certain type of period look, but they're also shooting like really super wide lens, but they also were shooting with like a big sensor, so it didn't look like fisheye. And so that might have all added to it having this super clean, polished look. They also had like everything be lights from outside the set because they needed a lot of freedom to move within the set. So you have all this kind of like big natural light coming in. So maybe all those things kind of blend together and kind of give it this like really clean, polished like veneer.
I guess, or maybe it was the color grade.
Hmm.
I don't know, but there was something that felt a little artificial to me.
Okay.
I wish it didn't. I mean, I did Google it and find out that it was all real.
Yeah.
And I was shocked to find out it was real. So I don't know what that tells you.
Yeah, and I think the production design was really well done. The costumes are really great.
So good.
Yeah.
Like the red dress with the veil. Like,
Yeah.
oh my word. That was
And
beautiful.
he does like these thematic things of like red represents something, like green represent, and different characters kind of embodying these colors, different points in the story.
Yeah.
So he does play a lot with those kind of color themes.
Victor's usually always in black and white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, but he's wearing like red gloves because
blood. I don't know.
Oh, well, also his mom, because he's
I
like,
thought it was blood. Okay.
well, I didn't think about blood. I mean, it probably has that dual
interesting.
meaning. Yeah.
Maybe
Because,
blood on his hands.
because you have a moment when he's sleeping in like a red blanket covering himself. And
that represents his mom.
yeah, I took that as like him wanting to, wrap himself in his
good.
mother's warmth or whatever.
And then the red angel
Yeah.
thing that like haunts him or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
It's red.
So, I thought, Del Toro did a really great job with all of those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And for a story that's like a monster story and it's like there's a lot of fantastical elements. I think
Yeah.
the more you can ground it in reality, the better. Yeah, that's interesting that you thought it was so much of it was fake.
I
Now,
know.
the monster's played by Jacob Elordi.
Yes.
He was not the original choice to play the monster. Do you know who was the original choice?
My first guess is Doug Jones.
No.
Who?
So it's your boy, Andrew Garfield. He was supposed to play the monster up until 9 weeks before they started shooting.
Why? What happened?
So he, because of the writer's strike and the scheduling conflicts that happened as a result of that, he had to pull out 9 weeks before they start shooting. They had already planned out his whole look and everything, and then I don't know.
He wasn't tall enough though.
I know, isn't that bizarre? Because
Jacob Elordi, like, part of what made him such a great monster is how tall and intimidating he was.
Totally agree.
Something I was thinking about while watching this was a very good call for his agents to make.
Mhm.
Well, maybe he made it himself, but to not have him be typecast, because he has always played the like good-looking love interest or jerk.
Mhm.
He's always been kind of typecast as that, the good-looking guy. And so for him to play a monster is such a good way to like maintain this idea of he can do a lot more. He has more range than that. And I thought he did a great job.
Because he's still very early in his career, and so he can kind of set the trajectory.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This shows that like he can do more than just be a good-looking character.
Yeah. How do you think he did in terms of his performance?
I thought he did great.
Yeah.
I thought he did great. He really embodied this innocent yet rage-filled creature.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt weirdly monstrous and human at the same time. Like, he was able to really straddle a lot of complicated ideas, I think, in his performance. I thought he did a really good job.
Yeah, I agree. I think he did a fantastic job really embodying the spirit of like the creation of the creature.
Yeah.
And
Andrew Garfield would have been so different.
I know. And when I heard that Andrew Garfield was slated to play it, I just think that would have not worked as well.
He could have done it.
I mean, he's a great actor.
He's a great actor.
But I think for me, if I was to see Andrew Garfield, even with all the makeup, it would be hard to unsee that he's Andrew Garfield still, like in makeup. But I think with Jacob Elordi, like I'm not as familiar with him, so it gives a little more anonymity, I think, to blend into like the role.
Just for you personally.
Okay, I mean, yeah, like so I haven't seen any of his other movies, and so maybe that's why it helped. I just think with like Andrew Garfield, it would have been so hard to unsee him as the monster, being the monster. And I think the fact that Andrew Garfield is 5'10". Now, they could have done movie magic and made him seem taller, I guess. But, I mean, Jacob Elordi, you have like these wide shots just seeing him standing there.
Yeah.
And he already looks like otherworldly
He's
tall.
so tall.
And yeah, the way they did the makeup and all that. And it just like really works well. There is a point about the monster and the rendition of him with, I guess, disimagining of him, because it is very different from the Boris Karloff, right? And I appreciated that he's different. But one of my biggest issues with this imagining of Frankenstein is that he's still too kind of, you can still see that he's a good looking guy underneath that makeup. Like there are moments in the movie where I'm like, dude, that he just needs some makeup and then he could just totally blend in and seem kind of normal.
He still looked really creepy to me.
Did he?
Yeah.
I think in the beginning he kind of does, but as the story unfolds, maybe because he's a little more covered up and stuff like that, I just felt like he looked almost too human. And I understand that he's like made of cadavers and stuff like that, but that's where I think the Boris Karloff Frankenstein is like he's like a true monster, right? He looks like a monster. Now, this might not be fair to Del Toro because I think not only apparently in the book, he does look pretty grotesque in terms of the descriptions of the monster. Clearly what the movie did in 31 really set in our minds our expectation.
The flat head.
Yeah,
the bolts.
and they took it to maybe like too far of an extreme. That worked in terms of like that genre and the monster genre that came from it. But I guess like Del Toro's trying to switch that up, and I appreciate that it's like this fresh take.
Yeah.
But I appreciated it more the fact that like the story has what feels fresh, because also the story deviates a lot in terms of the 31 version versus the book. And what Del Toro seems to be doing here is a much more faithful adaptation.
Yeah. Even though he still changed a bit.
Yeah, he still changed things, but I think the essence of it, like the fact that I don't know how much I want to say here, but like in 31, you know, that Frankenstein's creature is very brute, unintelligent, you know, like this kind of like kind of monster, right? You get a lot more from this version, and I found all that more interesting.
Yeah.
And apparently that's very much the way it's in the book.
Yeah.
But in terms of the visual look, I think I needed him to still be a little creepier. I
still found him pretty terrifying, especially when he like went into his fits of rage. Like that's what I mean by straddling the humanity and the monstrosity. I thought that was a really good way to do it, because he still looks creepy and can be terrifying.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's a humanity to him that we can sympathize with. And so I thought they did a really good job balancing those two.
Yeah. But
I liked it.
But there is a part of Frankenstein which is supposed to be like he can never be accepted by society, right? Because of the nature of who he is. But also when you see him, it's reviling. Like people are like, oh, that's a monster, right? It's a very Beauty and the Beast. Like, I mean, this is a classic kind of trope, right? Very much because of Mary Shelley. Like she kind of, it was so influential in this.
Yeah.
I think in the way that he's rendered in this movie, I mean, there are people who are more disfigured than he looks like in this movie, like actual human beings, right? And to me, there's like a disconnect there between like the way that he should present externally, you know, that doesn't necessarily line up. Now, in an interview, apparently with the makeup artist and Del Toro, like they said that Del Toro didn't want him to be obviously like typically like monster like, kind of communicating this idea of like even for humans, like we see monsters even in beautiful things, right? They push that too far, you know, where now
agree to disagree. I thought it was a good
okay in spoilers there is one, I don't want to get into it because it does spoil something, but there is something that they do with him in the monster thing that I did not like. I think yeah, but I think that I loved the opening sequence, like you were saying with the boat and everything, and apparently that's the way it's written in the book. There's like it kind of starts off with these captain's logs and that kind of stuff, but particularly like you just see the monster show up and then it just starts creating mayhem like right off the bat. Like I loved the intensity of all of that. The kind of problem I had is that I thought like that was setting up for a certain type of thing, but the movie does not end up being that at all. Like it's much more of a drama. It's really not a monster movie at all. I think it's to me it actually felt like a Shakespearean like operatic type of story,
which I think is true to the book.
Yeah. And I get that, and so I think I appreciate like the thing I like the most just across the board with this is that we finally do get what feels, I guess, accurate to the original.
It feels like
material.
A classic work.
Yes.
Rather than a slasher monster movie.
Yeah. But you know, but my favorite part of the movie was that opening. You know,
really?
Yeah, and the parts where it does get more.
That's funny.
Like there's two parts. Without giving away too much, there's like cadavers and some kind of effects that happen.
Yeah.
That Frankenstein does with them, and like those were the parts that I felt the most like, yes, this is Guillermo Del Toro doing his thing.
Bro.
Because to me, like, what's your favorite Del Toro movie. You know, like I've seen Hellboy. I've not seen all his movies, but I've seen Shape of Water and all this stuff. But
I just looked it up today. I've only seen Pan's Labyrinth.
okay, well, that's my favorite one. You know, of all the majority of the things I've seen it from him is like Pan's Labyrinth is still his masterpiece. And what is it about that feels so perfectly Del Toro? It was like nothing you've really seen before. It has that kind of folk tale type thing, fairy tale, but in this really creepy and all these monsters that are so
little girls POV.
Yeah, and the monsters are genuinely creepy. Yeah. Like get under your skin, you know. Like you just can't forget them.
Yeah.
And to me, like I look at this movie and I'm like, that's not what I think about the Frankenstein creature, you know, his creation. Like it's just
the movie is still very gross and creepy though. So don't get the wrong idea based on Albert's assessment.
It's too like subdued. Okay, reveal. You thought I'll give it a 3.5 out of 5, and I did give it a 3.5 out of 5.
Me too.
Okay. So
would you? We both guessed right.
So would you recommend the movie? Is this like a strong 3.5, like strong recommend, or
I recommend it to anyone so long as you can handle a little fantasy body horror.
Okay. I think I would recommend it if you are going in with the right expectations of think of this as a drama.
But also be aware that there's a lot of fantasy body horror.
Do not expect a monster movie.
But if you hate looking at body parts being cut up, just be mindful of that.
So somewhere in between all of, like
we are on opposite ends.
Yeah,
here.
I think because there will be a lot of people I think who are coming for the monster.
The nasty.
Yeah, the monster aspect of it. You know, like he's
really
such a classic.
That this wasn't just a monster movie. We've seen that 100 times, and especially with this particular story.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I think. Okay, getting into spoilers. I think though this version of that monster, it feels different because he's smart, because he can communicate. Like when he opening sequence, he's going crazy and killing everybody, and he's like speaking sentences and communicating in English, and I was like, whoa, like we've never seen this kind of Frankenstein creature before, right?
But he does demand for a female companion in the original story, and I think in some of the adaptations, like he demands
like Bride
of
Frankenstein.
Yeah, so he is able to communicate. He wants a female.
But it's kind of like whoa,
grunting.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Like this is definitely he learns how to read. He learns how to like all this stuff.
That happens in the book, yeah.
Oh, he does?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. But
the blind man teaches him.
Okay. Yeah, but we haven't seen this in...
Specifically, the blind man teaches him and he reads Paradise Lost.
Yeah, okay.
That's in the book, apparently.
Okay. Yeah. Now, I haven't seen like the dozens and dozens of Frankenstein spin-offs and all of that. Like I've just seen the 31 version. So maybe he does demonstrate more intelligence in those other versions, but at least in the original one, he doesn't. So I think I appreciated that twist on.
I did too, and I loved the second half so much more than the first half.
I agree.
I really started getting into the movie when it switched to Frankenstein's POV or the monster's POV.
Yes,
because it was so interesting watching him be like a literal fly on the wall, basically. And seeing the world through a blind man's eyes in a way, and then being accepted by the blind man.
Yeah. But also being able to hear his
so sweet.
Hear his thoughts. Like we've not had monster
because he's
POV.
Narrating.
Yeah, he's narrating. He's like telling us what he's wanting and feeling and longing for.
So good.
Like, and that's where you get the intimacy of like that connection to the monster through that second half. So I agree. Like when it made that switch, it was like, oh, okay. And then it draws you in more.
Yeah.
The first whole part just feels like this really long, drawn out setup of things you've already seen. Right.
And that's the whole love triangle thing.
Yeah.
I could have done without it.
Yeah. And it makes it's important for the Frankenstein scientist, like
Mm-hmm.
his character development to motivate some of these things that happen later. So I get why that needs to be there. And it's like, if he's going to be telling this as like a self-contained thing, like he, you don't want to just assume like, oh, everyone knows this story already and,
Yeah.
and kind of skim over it. But
He made up the love triangle part though.
so yeah, because originally like the Elizabeth character is someone that Frankenstein actually marries.
Right.
And then the brother is apparently like a really little kid and
Yeah.
isn't like a big part of the story at all.
Right.
But here, yeah.
I thought it
ends
was
up-
a weird thing to add, especially because it felt like they didn't end up doing much with it. Like the whole love triangle tension, it
yeah.
ended up feeling like not important by the end. To me.
Yeah. I mean, I guess in the plot maybe, but for the sake of the character, I think it was important to see like Frankenstein wanting, he's setting on this journey to bring back the dead in a sense, right? Like he wants, in a way, like almost to like be able to like bring back his mom, right?
Well,
The death
yeah,
of his mom sets him down this journey,
and he becomes his dad.
yeah, and in all of that darkness and coldness and hatred and all of that, he finds for the first time like life, right? And he says like, I actually for the first time wanted to live or experienced life through love. And then when that gets crushed, it sends him back down into that spiral that he never fully comes out of, right?
Yeah.
So I think it was important, but it was really drawn out.
Yeah. And
yeah.
it felt like for me, maybe because, we're all familiar with the story, I was just like, hurry up and make the monster already.
Yeah, I think that's what everyone's waiting for.
Yeah,
ultimately.
and like all of this stuff feels like adjacent setup, but not monster setup.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of like, okay, I feel like the movie's not going to actually start until the monster happens.
Yeah.
And that was like almost the midpoint. So that was a little frustrating. But one thing that I did kind of find interesting, and my husband said this while we were watching it, he said it's interesting that Frankenstein's character, obviously he becomes like his father, which was cool. I liked that whole thing. But it's interesting how a lot of men, they want to have children for the sake of legacy, but once the child is born, they don't really want to take care of it. And that is kind of exactly what happens in this story, where he creates the monster and then suddenly the monster isn't doing what he wanted it to, and he doesn't want to take care of it, and he doesn't want to nurture it, and he's just irritated that his ego can't be enhanced.
Okay. So this is really the main theme of the movie, right?
Yeah.
At least that I take away.
Well, there's also the monsters theme, but
yeah, but
I want to hear.
It's this idea of child and father and like love being desired, acceptance being desired.
Yeah.
Right, between Frankenstein and his dad. He doesn't get that. He births a child in the monster and just passes that down.
Yep.
Right?
It's the same cycle.
He never experienced that love and acceptance. He doesn't know how to deliver that. And so this, kind of inability for fathers, or the impact that a father can have on a son, right? On a child. It's going to be good or bad. And that's going to set the stage for what gets passed down for generation upon generation, right? And so like that longing, like it was really that parallel was really well established. For me, being a father, having a son, this is just me being like really honest. Like I understand where some of that comes from. I think there's this desire in fathers for their sons to become men. Like you're a boy, you're nurtured by your mother and the father too. But even I see like my wife is always wanting to be nurturing, whereas I see myself being like, okay, he's getting to a certain age. I think he's ready to like grow a little more. He's ready to become more of a man, and
it's fascinating.
This kind of desire to want to like make him a man in a way, right? But
Mm.
it takes time. And it doesn't happen at, like, people don't change that quickly, right?
Yeah.
And needing to restrain my impatience to
Wow.
let my son grow into it, knowing it'll happen and I need to be by his side. But I can understand that feeling.
Yeah.
So like this, Frankenstein's dad, I'm not condoning abuse.
No. No.
That's not what I'm doing.
No.
Like, he was clearly abusive to his
Right.
son. He saw something for his son. I am a great surgeon. I want to pass this knowledge down to you.
And my son will also be
He's going to
great
be
surgeon.
great too. Yeah, for the sake of my reputation, yes, that's selfish.
ego.
But I think there could have still been, even if that wasn't there, I think that still could have been there, where it was like, I want him to be great. What if it was, I want him to find the cure for cancer, find the cures that I couldn't overcome, right? Like, and pushing him towards this greater thing. Like, you see lots of dads do that for their sons, right? For out of a good desire, but they push too hard sometimes, right? And that's what you kind of start to see him do. And even in Frankenstein, when he creates the creature, I think they do a good job of him doing it in a sympathetic way initially, because those moments in the beginning where he's
like, son.
Yeah, and he's kind of teaching him these things, like, they're so touching. It really, I mean, that's what Jacob Elordi did such a good job of. Like, he felt like a child.
Yeah.
In his performance, and even though he's like this really big, tall guy and all this stuff,
Right.
like, he really did
Felt
act like a
innocent.
child. Yeah. And so you see this father kind of nurturing and taking care of this child, but coming to a point where he's wanting and expecting, like, oh, he should be growing more past this, but he's like stalling out, right? And then he starts to get frustrated.
Yep.
And I think that's where it starts to break down. And then that impatience that his dad had for him, where it's like, you're not keeping up on my timeline. Like, you should be further ahead. You should know these things, right? Like, that reaction comes out, and he doesn't know how to not do that, because that's all he's experienced. So I think it taps into something deep in the relationship between fathers and sons.
Yeah, it really does. And I think it does talk about the whole relationship with the mother figure as well, because obviously Victor was close with his mother before she died, and then he blames his father for not saving her, blames him for her death. And then that cycle kind of continues when Elizabeth is sort of like it's kind of unclear. Is she like a mother figure or a romantic figure for the monster? I'm not sure, but like her getting killed by Victor in the end, and it's kind of like a repeat of that same cycle of like, now you've killed the one person who, really loved me in an unconditional way, or
the one potential source of love, genuine tenderness that is absent from everyone else in the story.
Except the blind man, I guess. But
yeah, that's true.
But yeah, basically, like, the only female figure
is the one that you destroy.
Is the one you destroy,
and that ultimately also destroys the monster, right? Because the monster, like, that was the one hope he had to find some kind of meaningful. Because Frankenstein said he wants a companion. Frankenstein refuses. But we see, like, oh, but Elizabeth is kind of drawn to him and sees some beauty in him, the whole Beauty and the Beast thing. And so maybe the two of them can have something, but gets taken away.
Yeah. And then they kind of talk about, like, Adam and Eve.
Yeah.
And sort of like how man was not meant to live alone. And the creator
the desire for a companion.
Yes.
And
Yes. Which all of those things were super interesting because I keep wanting to call him Frankenstein.
Yeah, I know. And that's just like an age-old thing.
It really is. But the monster, really wanted to experience actual life and actual living. And I think he just realized his lonely existence could never be fixed unless he had, like, a companion to live with him, which I think, like, really speaks to our humanity and how we need community.
Yeah.
We cannot really be alone.
Okay. Now, this is where I think it's really important that that the creature, that the monster, be really grotesque physically. I think that's fundamentally important to the
I
dilemma.
still found him to be quite gross.
Like when his hair's grown out and he's wearing a jacket
He
and
looked
stuff.
better with the hair grown
He
out, but
looked-
he still looked really creepy.
I don't know. He puts on some foundation, you know. That's gonna be my letterbox review. It's just gonna be like, bro just needs some makeup and he's good.
He's good.
I mean, because you see his like, facial structure, and it's like, oh, it's a pretty good looking guy, you know.
Weird that he never grew eyebrows. He grew hair, but he never grew eyebrows.
Yeah, but you could, patch them on. And I just think like he looked too close to potentially be able to pass and assimilate into society, and it just needs to be like that is not an option. Like it needs to be
I don't
so
know.
obvious and clear that like at the very sight of him, you're just like, that is not human. You know?
Yeah. I didn't think that was weird when the hunters just shot him. They were like, what is that thing?
Yeah.
It's not a human. And I
It's
was
like standing in like a coat, right?
And I'm like, he does look human.
Yeah.
Ish.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And
I mean, he does have purple skin, which is, kind of creepy.
yeah, okay, so I'm okay with the moment of creation, him looking the way he did. I think the design choice is pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm.
You take away the stitches, you have these patches of like different pieces of the body, and apparently, in the designing of the makeup, they designed it so the seams would like correlate with sections where he would need to open up the body to do something on the heart or whatever. So like those seams are actually like strategically placed around the body.
Okay.
Which was, I thought, really interesting.
Yeah.
But the main issue I had was the whole regeneration thing. Like
it doesn't make sense.
Like they don't explain it. It's just like, oh, somehow he can regenerate,
He's
right?
got this magical power.
And first of all, it took what seemed until then, even with it being a fantastic story, what felt somewhat grounded into a superhero movie. Like now he's just like Wolverine. Like I just kept thinking like, oh, he's Wolverine. Like how do we kill Wolverine again? You know, like and
well, but it does make his curse more interesting.
Okay, I agree. So this is how you solve it, I think. I think you have, when he gets shot or whatever, or burned, that you have the destruction of his flesh, but he continues to live. So he gets shot in the eye, right? The eye's gone. Keep it like that. Don't let it regenerate. Keep it like that. So that what I think needs to happen at the end of the movie when the monster comes face to face with his creator.
Is he just a zombie?
Is essentially he looks completely destroyed. And that's the moment that as he tells his story, because now he looks horrifying, right? Genuinely just terrifying and horrifying. Doesn't even look like a human at all. Totally disfigured. And in his telling the story, that's when Frankenstein actually has his heart breaks, because what I think his body needs to exhibit is the pain, the hurt, and the hatred from the world that has been done to him.
That's kind of interesting.
You know, like it's just like a physical manifestation of that.
Yeah.
That when Frankenstein sees it, he sees, oh my gosh, I did this to you. You know, not just in the words, but he still looks perfectly pristine like he was when he was created, but like physically embodying that.
Mm-hmm.
So you have like flaps hanging off and, like things like that. But in the most ugly moment, he finds acceptance. And I just think it would have like really resonated more, because, the one point that I struggled with was it was beautiful to look at and the themes were interesting, but it just was hard to emotionally connect deeply with this movie.
I agree. I think that's why I ended up settling with the 3.5, because I couldn't quite connect with any of the characters except the whole sequence with the blind man. I think was the core or the heart of the movie for me. It's just this unconditional, you can be my friend, I will accept you. It doesn't matter what you are or who you are. I will be your friend. And I think that unconditional love is really something Victor never got, and really something that the monster needed to grow. Like, you cannot flourish
Yeah.
in an unloving environment.
Now, the blind man accepting him, I mean, that is part of what's intended, right? Like, he can love him because he doesn't look at the outside, right?
Right.
He just sees him from who he is in his spirit. But like, the more grotesque he actually would become, according to my suggestion, right? You would be kind of communicating, like, the blind man accepted Frankenstein because he couldn't see him. But now Frankenstein at the end, even though he can see him and sees how ugly he's become, and how savage he looks, like, that he can still accept it, you know? I think it would have worked more powerfully there too. Because that's already being done.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really work as well, I think, because I don't know. Yeah, if that makes
Interesting.
sense. Yeah. Okay, now Oscars. This is getting a lot of Oscar buzz.
Interesting.
Potentially, like Best Picture and all these things.
Huh.
Do you see, what Oscar potential do you see, or if any, with this movie?
Production design,
Yeah,
for sure.
production for sure. Costume
Is Jacob Elordi up for a nomination?
So
My voice is getting higher and higher.
yeah. I mean, I think he does do a good job. Like, I could totally buy a nomination for him.
Okay.
Um,
I think he did great.
You think he deserves one?
Potentially.
Yeah.
I
But
need to see the lineup.
But he would be going up against, like, Sean Penn,
Sean Penn.
Benicio del
Sean
Toro.
Penn gets it.
Yeah.
Never mind.
It would be pretty tough.
Yeah, that's true.
But
maybe Michael B. Jordan.
For Sinners.
Main
Oh,
actor,
yeah.
For main actor.
Yeah.
It could definitely get makeup. Obviously, I heard it took like 11 hours to put him in that
It's
Frankenstein
crazy.
monster suit. Man, I don't know what else.
Yeah, I think this one is more of like crafts Oscars.
Yes.
Kind of powerhouse.
Potentially this adapted screenplay.
That's true.
Potentially.
Yeah, because it was like a faithful, and
I liked the dialogue. I thought the dialogue was really interesting and it felt classic.
Mm-hmm.
Felt like it was from the 1800s.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
I still think that One Bad After Another, Sinners, like, these other movies are much stronger than Frankenstein.
Yeah.
In terms of, like, Best Picture.
Yes,
and
I agree.
Yeah, director and all those kind of bigger categories.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Well, I still think it's really well done. So if you've watched it, let us know what you think.
Yep.
And
you can follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Letterboxd, or Apple Podcasts.
And join us next time as we continue our quest for the 5th star.